Okay, welcome back. Let us continue where we stopped. I believe we have understood it up to this level, right? So let's go to requirement 3. Requirement 3, the gap. Okay, welcome back. Sorry for the disconnection. Let's look at the requirement 3. Requirement 3 is saying that we should use either the capital asset pricing model or the Modigliani and Miller proposition 2 with tax. Now, you are going to pardon me for this. The MIM proposition 2 is what we are going to discuss under capital structure theory, and that is immediately after cost of capital. Okay, so I'll just give you the formula here, and we are applying the two. Now, I'm not going to do the question want us to use only one of these two. Either you use capital asset pricing model or you use Miller and Modigliani proposition 2 with tax model. However, because I am teaching, I am going to use the two, and we are going to see how the two are applied in computing cost of equity. Of course, that of CAPM is not new to you. The only one I need to introduce you to is what is Modigliani and Miller, and we are going to treat that in detail when we start capital structure theory. So, computation of cost of equity. Computation of cost of equity. Computation of cost of equity. So number one, using what? Using CAPM. Now, if we are to use CAPM, you know here, we have gotten our beta of equity. We have gotten our beta of equity here for the US subsidiary. So what do I need to do? I'll just put this one in CAPM straight, no problem. Okay, I put it in CAPM straight. So using the CAPM, I say that cost of equity is equal to risk-free rate plus beta of equity, market return minus risk-free rate. Cost of equity will be equal to, what's our risk-free rate? Our risk-free rate is 2.1%. I believe you are following me. 2.1% plus beta of equity is 2.052, right? What's our market return? Our market return is the expected return on the S&P 500 index is what? Is 7%. So 7% minus 2.1%. This will give you my cost of equity. Cost of equity be equal to 2.1% plus 2.052 into bracket. I think this should be 4.9, right? Yeah, 4.9. 4.9%. 4.9%. So let's compute this. 2.052 times 4.9 plus 2.1. I have 12.15%. 12.15%. And I believe you have the same, right? 2.15%. 2.15%. That's what we have here. Okay. Now, that is for CAPM. What about for Miller and Modigliani? using M and N, proposition 2. M and N proposition 2 with tax. With tax. With tax. Now, the M and N proposition 2 with tax. Sorry, so sorry about the disconnection, please. So the M&M proposition 2 with tax is used to compute cost of equity. When you have two different companies, and the first company is ungeared, while the second one is geared. Okay? If I have two companies, one ungeared and the other one is geared, I can, if I know the cost of equity of the geared company, I can use the cost of equity of the geared company to compute the cost of equity of the ungeared company. Or if I have the cost of equity of the ungeared company, I can use the cost of equity of the ungeared company to compute the cost of equity of the geared company. That is what MM proposition is saying. We are going to know the detail when we start capital structure theory. Now, this is the formula. Cost of equity geared. When I say cost of equity geared, I'm saying cost of equity of a company that is geared. That's why I put G. It's not different from the K above. It's not different from this. It's not different. I just put geared to differentiate it. You understand? Cost of equity geared means cost of equity of a company that is geared. Cost of equity of a company that is having debt is equal to cost of equity ungeared is equal to cost of equity that is not of a company that is not having debt plus cost of equity ungeared minus cost of debt. This cost of debt should be pre-tax. Let me state it there. Cost of debt, pre-tax, before tax, not post-tax. Okay? Cost of debt, pre-tax. Let me use the other bracket here to differentiate it. Okay? Cost of equity pre-tax, so cost of debt pre-tax times market value of debt into bracket 1 minus T, which is the tax rate, all over market value of equity. You see that it is very similar to this. Let me go there. You see that it's very, very similar to this formula here. Isn't it? The only difference is that this one uses what? Beta. Beta of a company that is geared is represented by BE. Beta of company that is not geared is represented by BA. Do you understand now? So that's what I've done here now. If you know the beta of a company that is not geared, I can use it to compute the beta of equity of a company that is geared. Can you see that now? That's what I'm saying. So the same formula, only that when you have beta of equity, you now have what? You now have beta, you now have cost of equity. When you have cost of equity, beta of asset, you have cost of equity on debt. When you have beta of debt, you now have what? Cost of debt. That is the only difference between this formula now and the one we have been using. Okay? So let us define this. Cost of equity geared is equal to, okay, let me compute cost of equity on geared. How do I compute cost of equity on geared? When I use CAPM here, what beta did I put here? Beta of equity, right? Beta of equity is for a geared company. So if I want to compute cost of equity of an geared company, I will use beta of assets. I will don't mind. It's one of my colleagues, sorry. I will use beta of assets. And what's my beta of assets? My beta of assets is 0.57. Look at it there. 0.57, the one we computed earlier. This is 0.57. 0.57. Where do you compute that? Look at it. This is my beta of asset. When you use beta of asset to compute your cost of equity, you get cost of equity ungeared, cost of equity of a company that is not having debt. That's what we're going to have. So let's go and compute our cost of equity ungeared. Our answer is equal to what? 2.1% plus 0.57 into brackets 7 minus 2.1%. Minus 2.1%. So cost of equity ungeared will be equal to 2.1% plus 0.57 into bracket 0.49. So let's compute this. Cost of equity ungeared will be equal to 0.57 times 4.9, 2.79 plus 2.1, 4.9%. 4.9%. So any company that is operating in the US and is not having debt, okay, let me be specific. Any company that is operating in US as a courier service provider and the company is not having debt, this is going to be the cost of equity of that company because the company is not geared. You can see that it's different from this one. Cost of equity, you can see it is what? 12.1% because this one is having debt. So the cost of equity will have to be higher. Cost of equity of a company that is having debt should be higher than the cost of equity that is not having debt, and they are in the same industry. Now, based on this cost of equity, I can now go ahead and compute my cost of equity geared. Cost of equity geared is equal to cost of equity ungeared 4.9 4.9% plus 4.9% minus what's the cost of debt of Fameco US subsidiary? Who can answer this question? Who can answer this question? What is the cost of debt of Fameco US subsidiary? Who can give me? Assuming you are in the exam hall, I want to tackle this question. What will you take as your cost of debt? Okay. Because you look at it, in the question, I don't think we have cost of debt. We don't have. So how do I You said?
You assume is risk free.
God bless you. So when we are faced with this situation, we are going to assume that your debt is risk free, and where your debt is risk free, the cost of debt will be the same thing as risk free rate. So 2.1%. 2.1. You know, I told you it's pre-tax. That's why I'm not charging tax. Okay, because it's pre-tax. If it is WACC, we have done what? Post-tax times market value of equity of the US subsidiary is 80. 80 to bracket 1 minus 0.35 all over 20. So we have cost of equity geared to be equal to 4.9% plus 4.9 minus 2.1. 4.9 minus 2.1. 2.8. 2.8% times, I think we have done this before, have you? We did this one before. We have, I think, 2.6, have you? Okay, let me read it anyway for confirmation. 80 times 0.65 divided by 20, 2.6. So cost of equity geared will be equal to 2.6 times 2.8 plus 4.9, 12.18%. Did you get the same thing or not? can see that they are very, very similar. So you can approximate them to 12.2, 12.2. So the two will give the same result. However, if I'm to be in the exam hall and the examiner has told me using CAPM or using proposition 2, you see that proposition 2 will take a longer time. Okay, it will take a longer time to compute than CAPM. The moment you have computed your cost of equity, beta of equity before, the CAPM is straightforward. But if you want to use M&M proposition 2, then you are going to spend more time. You are going to spend more time. Any question on this? Any question on this? My network is just going on and off. All this network issue. Sorry about that. So that's the end of question number 14. That's the end of question number 14. Any question on that? Let's go to 15. Shall we continue? However, I might not be able to complete question 15 because of my class. I need to prepare for my physical class at FC. Shall I continue? Mrs. Angela, Mrs. Chinwe, do I continue? Are we fine?
Yes.
Right. Okay, let's go to example 15.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to example 15.
Exactly.
That's a Kilimanjaro. 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 So let's look at the requirements of the question. What's the requirements? You are required to A, estimate what discount rate Kilimanjaro should use in the appraisal of its proposed diversification into the production of freezers. B, corporate debt is often assumed to be risk-free. Explain whether this is a realistic assumption and calculate how important this assumption is. And calculate how important this assumption is likely to be to Kilimanjaro's estimate of cost of discount rate in A above. For this purpose, assume that Kilimanjaro and other 4 companies all have a debt beta of 0.3. C, discuss whether systematic business risk is the only risk that Kilimanjaro's shareholders should be concerned with. So let's go and take the question. Kilimanjaro PSC produces domestic electric heaters. The company is considering diversifying into the production of freezers. Okay, currently the company is producing electric heaters. So the company wants to start manufacturing of what? Freezers. Data of 4 listed companies in the freezer industry and for Kilimanjaro are shown below. We have Mississippi, Limpopo, Zambezi, Nile, and of course, Kilimanjaro. We have fixed assets, working capital, financed by bank loan, ordinary shares and reserves. Then we have turnover, we have EPS in Kobo, we have DPS in Kobo, we have our price earnings ratio, which is PE ratio, we have beta of equity. The par value per ordinary share is 25 Kobo for Mississippi and Zambezi, 50 Kobo for Nile, and 1 Naira for Limpopo and Kilimanjaro. Corporate debt may be assumed to be risk-free and is available to Kilimanjaro at 0.5% above the Treasury bill rate, which is currently 9% per year. Corporate taxes are paid at the rate of 35%. The market return is expected to be 16% per year. Kilimanjaro does not expect its gearing to change significantly if the company diversifies into the production of freezers. So estimate what discount rate Kilimanjaro should use in the appraisal of its proposed allocation into the production of freezers. So requirement A, computation of appropriate work for Kilimanjaro's freezer business. We already know the procedure, Abby. The first thing, if you want to compute project specific cost of capital is what? Identify the proxy company. What's our proxy company here? Now, if you look at this, the question gave us 4 different companies that are already in the freezer industry. We have the 4 companies to be what? Mississippi, Limpopo, Zambezi, and Nile. All these represent our proxy companies. Okay, so we are going to use all the 4. Mississippi, Limpopo, Zambezi, and Nile. These are all proxy companies that we are going to use. Now, but what I'm supposed to use is one single proxy beta, right? We need one single proxy beta. But I'm having 4 different companies here. What do? I need to take average beta. I will look for the beta of these 4 companies. Okay? I will add them together and take the average. Do you understand now? I will add them together and take the average. The average will now represent my average beta of the proxies. Average beta of the proxies. So let's compute that. Average beta of equity of the proxies, of the proxy companies. So beta of equity will be equal to, what is the beta of Mississippi? What is the beta of Mississippi? 1.1 plus, what is the beta of Limpopo? 1.25. What is the beta of Zambezi? 1.3. What is the beta of Nile? 1.05. So you add this together and divide it by the number of companies, which is 4. When we are faced with this situation, this is the approach. And that's the reason why I included this question in my back. So that when we are faced with similar question, this is the approach you should take. You should not be confused in that, oh, I have 4 proxy companies. Which one do I use? No, that should not be a problem to you. You are considering every one of them, adding all their beta together, and dividing it by the number of companies whose beta you have added together. That's the approach. So let us add this 1.1 plus 1.25 plus 1.3 plus 1.05. We have a 4.7 all over what? All over 4. So 4.7 divided by 4 will give us what? 1.1, approximately 1.18. 1.18. That is our proxy beta. That is our proxy beta. Now, all these companies have debt, I mean, all of them have debt. So it means that beta is their beta. We need to ungear the beta. Again, get the beta of equity of the proxy companies, and get the beta of equity of the proxy companies. So the formula is what? Let me go and pick the formula straight. So I want to ungear, I need this formula. Put the formula there. Now, we know our beta of equity. What's our market value of equity? Our market value of equity is, we are going to calculate market value of equity for the 4 companies. Market value of equity. We have 4 companies, so we need to compute the 4, we need to add their value of equity together, because we are using all their beta together as well. So what do we do? For Mississippi, now, if you look at this question, you see that we are not given market value of equity. Yeah? We are not given market value of equity, but we are given basis for us to compute market value of equity. If you look at the question, we have earnings per share, we have price earnings ratio. Now, how do we compute our price earnings ratio? How do we compute price earnings ratio? Price earnings ratio is market price per share all over earnings per share, true or false? So what I want to get is market price per share. I will make market price per share the subject of the formula. How will I do that? I'm going to have market price per share will be equal to price earnings ratio multiplied by EPS. Can you see that? So that's why the question gives you that information. Let me leave it there for you for your consumption. So this EPS.